Okay, we're going to keep talking about lines and transversals. So this is going to be section 3.2, and we're going to talk specifically about the angles that we just learned and the parallel lines that help form those angles. So angles and parallel lines. And we're going to go back with our same picture. So let's draw our two lines, but this time we want to make those lines parallel, or try to draw it so that they look parallel. And we're going to have a transversal that goes between them. And so you notice my transversal today is going a different direction than yesterday. That doesn't matter. All that matters is that the transversal crosses the two lines. So this is going to be line R, line S, and again this is going to be T, the transversal. And we're going to number these angles. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, we're going to write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 theorems, and they all start out the same. So I'm going to write down the first line of all of them right here, and then we're going to build off of this. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, comma, then dot, dot, dot. Okay, so all 5 of these theorems that we're about to write down start out by saying if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal. Now, when we look at this picture, we don't know that these lines are parallel, but parallel is always denoted with these little arrows on the line. So once we add these, now we know they're parallel. So if you're making these drawings or you're looking at these drawings, if you don't see these marks, the lines are not parallel. And consequently, when I'm looking at your work, if I don't see these marks, the lines are not parallel. So that means parallel. Now, our 5 theorems are going to correspond to those 5 angles that we wrote down yesterday. So I'm going to scoot down a little bit. You should still be able to see your picture. The first theorem is not exactly a theorem, it's a postulate, but we're going to write it down anyways. It's a corresponding angles postulate. Okay, and the way this is going to work, what we're writing here, is we're going to finish this statement. So this is a conditional statement. Here's the if, here's the then. The if is the same for all of these. So we're only going to write the then. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles are congruent. So if you look up at your picture, remember our corresponding angles were like angle 1 and angle 5. And what we're saying is that those two angles are congruent. So looking back at your picture, angle 1 and angle 5. The only reason they're congruent is because the two lines are parallel. If the two lines are not parallel, then angle 1 and angle 5 are not congruent. So remember, parallel is the key to all of these. The other sets are angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. And angle 4 is congruent to angle 8. Okay, so we want to learn those. Don't memorize the numbers because the numbers can be different. We could have wrote these numbers in a different order. You want to memorize the locations and where each thing is. All right, so that's our first one, corresponding angles postulate. Our next one is the alternate interior angles theorem. So alternate interior angles theorem. And remember how we're writing this. We're writing down the conclusions. We have the hypothesis. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so go back up to our picture. Alternate interior angles. That is like angle 3 and angle 6. So when the lines are parallel, angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. So our congruent alternate interior angles are angle 3 congruent to angle 6 and angle 4 congruent to angle 5. Okay, so remember, if I ask you to say the alternate interior angles theorem, you're going to say, if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior angles are congruent. All right, next one is our alternate exterior angles theorem. And again, it starts just like the others, and you're going to have to memorize this. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate exterior angles are congruent. All right, so looking back up at our picture, our alternate exterior angles, alternate and exterior. So 1 and 8, 2 and 7. So alternate exterior angles. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 8, and angle 2 is congruent to angle 7. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, alternate exterior angles are congruent. All right, we've got 2 more to go. We have our same side interior angles theorem. So remember, it all starts out the same. Our hypothesis is up at the top. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then same side interior angles, and be careful with these because it's not congruent. So same side interior angles are supplementary. All right, so let's look back up at the picture. Same side interior. So that would be angle 3 and angle 5. Now if you notice, angle 3 is an acute angle, and angle 5 is an obtuse angle. And what I hope you take away from this when we're all done today is that all the acute angles in this picture are congruent. All the obtuse angles in this picture are congruent. Every acute angle combined with one of the obtuse angles is going to be supplementary. See how 7 and 5 are supplementary? They're on a line together. Well, 7 and 3 are the same, right? Because they're corresponding angles. They're in the same spot. They have the same measurement. So if 7 and 5 are 180, then 3 and 5 are also 180. So any acute angle paired with an obtuse angle in this type of picture is always supplementary. So angle 3 and angle 5. So the way we would write that is the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 5 equals 180 degrees. And our other set is the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180 degrees. So be careful. Don't get caught on a test by thinking that it's congruent, everything's congruent, and you don't pay attention to what you're doing, and the answer is supplementary. All right, last one. We are same side exterior angles theorem. So same side exterior angles theorem. All right, starts out the same. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then same side exterior angles are supplementary. Okay, same side exterior angles are supplementary. So back up to the picture. Same side exterior. So 1 and 7. And notice 1 is obtuse, 7 is acute. An obtuse and an acute in this kind of picture always add up to 180. So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 7 equals 180 degrees. And our other set is the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 8 also equals 180 degrees. So that's it. Those are the 5 theorems that you need to learn about parallel lines that are cut by a transversal. So do your best to memorize those, and don't forget this part. This is the hypothesis. Everything we wrote after are the 5 different conclusions based on the type of angle. So that's it. Have a great day.